hair is super greasy, so we had to put it up in a headband. Hey guys, it's me Sylvia, back with another video. Welcome back to my channel, woo, where it's always a party. Welcome back. So today's video, we're gonna be testing out the brand called Copycat Beauty. I had not heard about this brand until recently when Bad Baby, you know, the Catch Me Outside girl, that girl, she's popping. I guess she is now the face of this brand or the ambassador or something. I don't really know what her part is in it, but she's supporting the brand basically. And I was really intrigued by this brand because it's basically all in the name, Copycat Beauty. What they do is they copy high-end makeup products and they create dupes supposedly for them. So they're supposed to be affordable products that wear as well as the high-end product. But we got to put it to the test, you know, see if this Copycat Beauty stuff is in fact good dupes for high-end makeup. And I'm gonna put out a disclaimer real quick right now that I have nothing against Bad Baby or Danielle Bregoli, Catch Me Outside girl. She has a lot of names. This is purely about the makeup. We're gonna see, you know, if it is any good, especially since, you know, she doesn't really have a big involvement in like the beauty community. She's never fully been into makeup. She even said in her video. So I want to know, like, are the products legit? Are they in fact really good dupes? And who doesn't love a good affordable product? So if they are, we're in luck. I'm gonna let you know in this video. Without further ado, we're gonna get right into it. I'm gonna wash off my dusty, crusty makeup that's been on all day. We're looking real crazy, and we're gonna get into testing these products. All right, so we're back, ready for action. This side is gonna be the high-end side, and this will be the Copycat Beauty side. I don't have a foundation from Copycat Beauty to try out, but I do have their brushes, which they claim are dupes of the Marc Jacobs brushes, which are very pricey, so I hope that's true. We're gonna test out their foundation brush, and then I'll continue to use their brushes throughout the tutorial to really see how they compare to the Marc Jacobs ones. So I have their GT04 brush versus the Marc Jacobs Base 1 brush. So I'm gonna start by just applying my foundation all over my face, and then we'll use the individual brushes for each side. Just right off the bat, the Marc Jacobs ones do seem a little bit softer, but let's go ahead and blend that out, starting with the high-end side with that Marc Jacobs brush. So because this is not as like dense of a foundation brush, it's giving me a lighter coverage application. And the Marc Jacobs brushes are really pricey, but they are like really good. They're so soft and just feel hella luxurious. Now let's blend out the Copycat Beauty side using their brush. I kind of prefer a denser foundation brush like this because it gives me more full coverage, which you guys know I'm a full coverage girl. But honestly, my favorite way to apply my foundation is still with a beauty blender. But this is working really well. It's really soft. It's doing a decent job of blending everything out. It's not leaving too many streaks. So foundation's applied, and so far I'm really liking the Copycat Beauty brush. I kind of preferred it to apply my foundation versus this more fluffy Marc Jacobs one. Just gave me more full coverage, be more in control because it's a little bit smaller, but that's just the difference in style. The actual bristles themselves, the Marc Jacobs one is softer and just feels heavier, but they're very similar. We'll continue to test the brushes throughout the tutorial. I'm gonna go ahead and apply some concealer and brows off camera, and then we'll test the rest of the products I got from them. So concealer, brows, and bronzer are on because Copycat Beauty doesn't have any of those products. Now let's apply blush using their Exposed 2 palette, which is supposed to be a dupe for the NARS Wanted 2 cheek palette. Side by side, they look extremely similar. Like the colors are almost spot on in the pan. So this is Copycat Beauty. Ooh, swatched really smooth and pretty pigmented. This is the Narcissist palette. Ooh, so those are really similar. Let's apply. I'm gonna use the orange shade from both the palettes. Starting out with the high-end side. The NARS formula is buildable. It's really smooth, you know, it doesn't go on patchy, and they are pretty long wearing, so the blush isn't gonna fade away very quickly. Let's apply the orange shade from Copycat Beauty on that other side and see the difference in formula. Okay, so it's giving me a nice light application at first, so it seems buildable as well. It's going on really nicely, and the shades are really similar. Both blushes are on. To me, it looks like it's a good dupe. It applied similarly. The shades are very similar, and I don't think you'd be able to notice a difference. You know, it looks like the same product is on both my cheeks, so I'm gonna say that palette is a good dupe. So now let's move on to highlight. We have their Beach Glow palette, which is supposed to be a dupe to the Anastasia Glow Kit in Sugar. Here I have one of the shades swatched side by side. This is the Anastasia one, and this is the Copycat Beauty one. Both were very creamy swatching. They look like the same shades. And then in the pan, they are very similar. The only shade that looks a little bit different to me is the shade that's supposed to be Gumdrop. It's a little bit more pink in the dupe versus the original. So because that's the shade that I see the most difference in, I'm gonna apply that one and see how they apply on. Maybe the Copycat Beauty one actually applies the same. Obviously, Anastasia is really well known for their highlight palettes. They have an amazing creamy formula. You know, they're very blinding. Obviously, oh, It's beautiful. Actually does have like a pink reflect to it when you apply it. It looks way more golden and bronzy in the pan. So now let's apply the Copycat Beauty one. Okay, so right off the bat, I think this one does have more pink color to it for sure. It's not as sheer. There's not as much glitter in it, so you're not getting that much of a reflect as you're getting in the Anastasia side. I think this one, I do prefer the Anastasia one, but it still gave me a really pretty highlight, and the other shades in the palette I think are a lot more similar than the one that I tried. So far I'm pretty impressed. I mean, they're really out here copying these high-end brands and doing a pretty good job of it. So let's move on to eyes. I have quite a few of their eye products to try out. For eyeshadow palettes, that's probably their biggest category that they have. They have quite a few dupes to some really popular hyped up eyeshadow palettes. So we're gonna compare their Peach Sangria palette, which is supposed to be the dupe to Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. And I mean, it's crazy. Even the eyeshadow format, like where they're placed in the palette, is exactly the same. But before we go in with that, let's actually prime our lids. And I do have their eyeshadow primer, which is supposed to be a dupe to the MAC 24-Hour Extend Eye Base, which we will see about right now. So let's apply the MAC side first. It's like this moussey kind of gel formula that's completely clear and just kind of coats your lid. Now let's apply the Copycat version, which has the same kind of consistency. And oh wow, look at that. It looks to be applying the same way. Feels literally exactly the same as the MAC one. I'm so confused. How are they doing this? How are they allowed to do this? You know, the lids are primed, it feels similar, they look the same, but will the eyeshadows apply the same on top? That's what we gonna find out. Let's move on to eyeshadows. This one smells so good, always. Does this one smell like peaches? No, it doesn't. It doesn't smell too good either. So I mean, there's that. So first, going in with the high-end one, we're gonna go in with Candy Peach there. And I do have the Marc Jacobs crease brush, so then we can compare it to the Copycat version of it. Let's apply that right above my crease. This is a bomb palette. I really like the shades in it. I like the formula. It's cute packaging. It smells good, you know. So I flicked that all the way out to the tail of my brow, and I'm also gonna connect it to my lower lash line here. There we go. You know, it's looking good. Got good pigmentation. It's that high-end product, that formula, that good stuff that you pay for. Let's see if this one can compare using what's supposed to be the same shade in the Copycat version and using their crease brush, which if comparing to the Marc Jacobs one, you can see that they are obviously very, very different. Marc Jacobs is more of a pointed crease brush. The Copycat version is more of like a buffing crease brush. Let's apply that in the same way, just right above my crease and up into my brow bone, flicking it out to the tail of my brow. Ooh, right off the bat, we do have some pigmentation, some color there. It is applying a little bit chalkier than the Too Faced one, but I feel like we can continue to build it and really build that color. I do like this brush. It's doing a good job of buffing out this color here. So both shades are applied and they're so similar. You know, I really like actually the formula of the Copycat Beauty one so far. Too Faced one is just a little bit of like a darker peach. It's barely noticeable. Now going in with Summer Yum on the Too Faced side, and I'm going to use this as a crease color, blending that right into my crease and along the outer corner here, and also taking that to my lower lash line. Now let's try and replicate that using the similar shade in the Copycat palette. I am noticing that these shadows aren't as pigmented as the Too Faced ones right off the bat, but they're buildable. So I just have to work at it a little bit longer to get that same color payoff. So there we have it. Next up, let's test out their liquid glitter eyeshadows, which are supposed to be dupes to the Stila ones. Got two shades. The first one is the GLS01, which is supposed to be the dupe to the Kitten Karma. Then I got the second shade, GLS20. This one is supposed to be a dupe to the Smoldering Satin shade from Stila, but both obviously are very, very different. And I noticed that on the website. I was like, that cannot be Smoldering Satin. It is green, honey, and Smoldering Satin is more of like this bronzy kind of shade. So very, very different, but the rest of the shades on the site actually do look very similar to the shades they're trying to dupe. But this one I was just confused by. So I had to get it and see for myself. Maybe it was a mistake on the website. I don't know, but obviously one's green and one's not. So this one I would not consider a dupe to the Smoldering Satin at all. Even the wands are very similar, but you can see the Stila one has a lot more product on it. But let's try Kitten Karma against that GLS01. First, going in on the high-end side, I'm gonna try and do a cut crease with this. These Stila shadows are absolutely gorgeous. I use them all the time. Look at that, like it's like liquid metal on your lid. It's gorgeous. Now let's see how the Copycat Beauty one compares. Let's try and cut the crease with this one as well. It's a little bit more sheer, making it a little bit harder to cut the crease with. Seems like the more layers you apply, the more opaque it gets, and you can really get it similar to that Stila one. It's kind of stinging my eye a little bit as it's drying going down here. So I don't know what that's about. You always want to be careful too with like the ingredients and stuff. They're obviously going to be very different. If you're paying a higher price point, usually it's because they're paying for better ingredients in their products. And that's just something to be aware of. But they're both really gorgeous. There is a slight color difference. It's definitely more of a rose gold compared to the Kitten Karma. The glitter shadows from Copycat Beauty are probably the worst dupes so far from the rest of them, but I mean, still not bad. It's just not perfect. So next up, let's do some eyeliner. I have the Copycat Gel Liner, which is supposed to be a dupe for the Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof Gel Liner. I also did get the eyeliner brush from Copycat Beauty, but I'm not going to use it because if you look really close up, it's like super frayed on the end, so that's not going to allow me to create a really sharp, clean wing. So I personally would not recommend that for an eyeliner. Instead, I'm going to use the Tarte eyeliner brush. Just going to run that along my lash line first, and I do really like this gel liner. Jet black, it's long lasting. So I actually like how that looks. I'm not going to extend the wing today. And when I swatched them on my hand here, the Tarte one was a little bit creamier and it was a little bit more jet black. Okay, so definitely I'm noticing it's harder to apply over top of the glitter here. It's just not as creamy. It's getting so jaggedy. So I definitely prefer the Tarte one so far. There are noticeable differences with this one, so I'd have to recommend investing a little bit more in actually going for the higher end product. So I'm gonna actually go back in and give myself an inner corner highlight with Nectar and Nectar Wannabe. Ooh, she pretty. Oh, she's pretty too. Next up, we have the mascara to try out. It's supposed to be a dupe to the Tarteist mascara. So before I even apply this one, the wands look very different. Tarte's way more narrow, more spiky. The Copycat version has more of like a fluffy, fatter brush. Let's see how they apply. This mascara really adds length to your lashes. Easy to get right down to the root because of the short, prickly bristles, which makes it awesome for the lower lashes. Makes them hella long. Whoa. Let's see how that compares to the Copycat one. Whoa, that is a lot of product on the wand there. Too much product for sure, making them clumpy. A lot's happening here and I'm not liking it. Let's do the lower lashes and try not to get this everywhere. And just as I suspected, that got everywhere. I'm just gonna try and scrape that off with my spoolie. So I know my lashes literally look the same right now, but there was a difference like in the wands. The Copycat version just had way too much product on there. It was more difficult to work with. It was definitely a lot more messy and they're still very wet. This one's just way chunkier. Definitely gave me spider leg lashes. Circling back to that eyeliner, this is both of them swatched. Tarte one is claiming to be waterproof. Copycat Beauty just says it's a dupe. Let's see which one comes off faster. The Tarte one is definitely a lot more durable, more waterproof, I guess, than the Copycat version because that one's coming right off. Points to the high-end version on that, not liking the dupe for that eyeliner. So last up is lips. I grabbed two products from Copycat Beauty. We're gonna start out with the lipstick. So we have their Glip 01 lipstick, which is supposed to be a dupe for the MAC Twig lipstick. But they even try to replicate the packaging, like it's that little black bullet. I am shocked. This is thievery, y'all. Now let's go in with Copycat Beauty. Definitely feels more matte, it's a little bit more drying, but the shades are nearly identical. The difference is definitely in the finish of them. This one's way more matte. The high-end MAC one is more of like a satiny finish. Last product to test out is lip gloss. They have the GLG01, which is supposed to be a dupe to the Anastasia Butterscotch lip gloss. So I'll just quickly line my lips. So it's this gorgeous nude lip gloss. It's not sheer at all. You know, it's got a lot of color to it. That classic Anastasia formula, not goopy, not sticky, comfortable, and beautiful. Let's see how the Copycat version compares. It's even got a very similar applicator. Definitely more sheer right off the bat and a little bit more streaky, but the color pretty similar. Both are applied. I can't really tell the difference in shade. It's a good dupe. I did have to apply a second layer to get the same color payoff as the Anastasia one, but I mean, now it looks the same, right? So this is the finished makeup look, high-end versus the Copycat side by side, and obviously they are very similar. We have the high-end side, which cost me around $565 Canadian, and then we have the Copycat side, which cost me around $133 for all those products, you know, brushes included and everything like that. So my final opinion, I would say that they are good dupes. But that being said, with a more affordable product like that, the ingredients might be different, the product might not be as long wearing, it might break down faster throughout the day. There are those slight differences that we talked about with each product, but I mean, if you don't have the money to splurge on those high-end products, then you might be more than willing to accept those negative aspects. The brushes weren't the exact style as a lot of those Marc Jacobs ones, but they were similar and they did perform fairly well. So I'm gonna say that this Copycat brand is legit. These are good dupes, and I can see how appealing this is if you don't have a lot of money to splurge on the high-end brands, or if you are a beginner in makeup and you don't want to be spending too much while you're still learning how to do things. I think it's worth trying out. The cheek palette was probably my favorite because it was nearly identical to the NARS one. I also did really enjoy that eyeshadow palette. The formula of the shadows was really good. There was those slight differences between the shades, but I mean, like barely. And the products that I didn't really like as much as the high end was probably the eyeliner, the mascara. The highlight was a little bit off. Even for those products that I didn't like I could still see the appeal in somebody wanting to get a more affordable option to those high-end ones if they can't afford it. So all in all, I am impressed. I do think this Copycat Beauty thing, they're creating these great dupes. I don't know how they're doing it or how they're allowed to do it or if they might get sued or whatever, because holy, they are fully out here copying these products. I mean, they ain't got no shame in their game, and I mean, it's working. But let me know what you guys think of this brand down in the comments below. And let's do the Espa video shout out of the day. We got Ingrid Boldazar. Shout out to you, girl, for loving my palette. She created a beautiful look and tagged me on Twitter. So thank you so much for buying the palette and showing your support and your love, and you are beautiful, girl. Keep on creating bomb looks with my baby. And that's all for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you buy my palette to follow along in future tutorials. Also subscribe if you haven't yet, and then check out these other videos of mine if you haven't seen them yet. And I will see you guys in my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys. Mwah. Bye.